Lex Luthor Jr. says, do you think it's better to buy a tool when you require it for a project, or should you wait until you have multiple projects that need it? This was a really, really constant discussion at Industrial Light and Magic when we were working there, because everybody gravitates towards certain tool specialties. Everybody's kit has a different layout of tools. We all have different opinions and philosophies about how to work. My philosophy specifically was, if I needed a tool more than once a year, I would buy it. That was my axiom. Further than that, if it's not a tool I have used extensively, the first purchase of that tool, I buy the cheapest one I can at Harbor Freight or a hardware store or Craigslist or eBay or Etsy. I buy the cheapest version of that tool I can, and if it turns out to work in my workflow, then I go and buy the most expensive version that I can find. I want to buy the highest quality version I can find. I always want lifetime tools in this shop if I can achieve such. So that was my philosophy. Other people have different philosophies, but for me, if I need it more than once a year, I want to have direct access to it instead of going to borrow it from Lauren Peterson or Aaron Hay or one of my compadres at ILM. K asks, any tips for spraying marking tools as yours? What to avoid or aim for? Yes. What K is referring to, could you hand me a drill? Anyone, any single drill, yeah. What K is referring to is the practice of, if you are a maker in your own shop, your tools are just your tools. And if no one else is using that shop, you don't have to worry about those tools going anywhere. But if you, like I did, work in theater or special effects, you show up with your own tools, and also the shop has tools that you use. In that case, there's likely going to be some overlap. You'll have rulers in your kit that are close or similar or exactly the same as rulers in the shop you're working in. You'll have drills in your kit that are the same as your coworkers' drills because, you know, we buy some similar stuff sometimes. And if there's two DeWalt users in a shop, they're going to have some similar drills. So what we do as freelance or even as employees in a shop is we mark our tools with a color. And that color is how you make sure that your stuff stays with you. My color was orange stripes, orange and yellow stripes back in the day. My tips is to use spray paint to do it. It weathers well. You'll want to mask off your piece so that, wow, what is that? Hold on, got a little bit of detritus in there. You'll want to mask off the air holes so you're not spray painting into the brushes of your motor, obviously. But I always like to choose an outlandish paint scheme so that it's really, really clear that it's mine. That was my goal. Don't ever use tape. Under any circumstances, don't use colored tape. Don't use bright colored duct tape, for goodness sake. That stuff will leave residue on your tools. You will never, ever get it. No amount of goof off or acetone can pull off the years old caked residue from duct tape. That stuff makes me crazy. And I had somebody once who marked a bunch of my tools with some tape, and I'm still suffering for it. In fact, at one point, yeah, don't use tape. Don't use, Jamie liked to use zip ties for his tool, like little colored zip ties. The problem is a little colored zip tie, when you wrap it around the handle of a wrench and then clip it, leaves this little sharp point at the end of your wrench. Like here, Heinemann would mark his crescent wrench by putting a bright orange zip tie through this piece here. And then I'd be using it and that piece would like dig into my palm. So I think zip ties are also shite for marking your tools. I think spray paint. You could also take a paint marker and make a specific design on each one, but you want to be able to tell from across the room that it's your tool. Again, 30 years ago, I worked for a couple of days on a stage production of Ty Cobb, and it's a one-person show about Ty Cobb, and Ty Cobb was a real pill, like not an easy person, and it was a beautiful production with a raked stage, That means the stage was actually slanted the way they used to be in like the Globe Theater days, which is why we call the front of the stage downstage and the back of the stage upstage, because the stage used to actually rake so that, yeah, the audience could see everybody. And I remember working on this at a production, at a theater company, and I had my Makita 9.6 volt NiCad drill back then, and I had two of them. I always traveled with two because I like to do the dual, like drilling and tapping or drilling and screwing, and that kind of, you know, it allowed me to work quickly. But as I was putting my two Makitas back in my bag, one of them was new enough that it hadn't been spray painted with my stuff. And the job supervisor, as I was leaving, said to me, "Have you got everything you came with?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "And nothing else?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I got into my car. Oh, packages. I got into my car and I drove home and I thought, was he accusing me of stealing? And I called him right back and I was like, "Dude, I came with two drills and I left with two drills. I hope you didn't think I was stealing any of your tools." And he was like, "No, no, 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 no." I'm pretty sure he was thinking that I might have been stealing one of their tools. Look, when you have a shop and you have people that work in that shop, your tools wander all over the place to hell and back. It is really rough to have a shop with people that use your tools on a daily basis. Full stop. I know that Jamie used to complain about it on Mythbusters all the time, and that I used to gleefully sort of wind him up about it. But the fact is, I really understood his pain. And, you know, I have stuff here where someone comes in and works and maybe doesn't put something back where I think it should go, and I lose it for like 2 months. That can easily happen. But now I'm drifting way off your original question. Kay, that's a terrific question. Yeah, if you guys, in the comments, if you guys have specific ways you've marked your tools that are different than anything I've outlined, I'd love to know about it. That's interesting. You know, aluminum tape or metallic tape is another great way of maybe making a very visible part of your tool that makes it stand out from others. I've always liked the way you can make plastic look like metal just by burnishing some aluminum sticky tape on it. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.